Hey guys, welcome back to our channel.
Plots with a twist,
where we discuss books
amongst other things.
And today we're back honoring Black History Month.
Yes,
kind of.
Oh, my shirt wrinkled. I haven't gotten the new Target collection, so I had to tap into my old last year's shirts. But I plan to get.
Oh, I got black shirts. It's the Kendrick Lamar cover.
Oh, yes. I was looking for something like that, but I could have put on my Outcast shirt.
Good kid.
For the culture. But yeah, but the shirts say culture. So yeah, I got to get my Target stuff. But yeah. We're going to talk about some Black books. So we're going to do some books that we would recommend, especially this time of month or for this month or just period, by Black authors. And then a couple of books we want to go ahead and check out as well. So let's get into it. All right. So
yeah, I'll start. So the first one that I want to tell everyone to go read, and that is The House of Eve by Sadiqa Johnson. I absolutely love this book when I read it. It follows Ruby and Eleanor. So Ruby is on track to becoming the first person in her family to go to college, but she gets sidetracked by a Jewish boy in her first love and coming to terms with the consequences of her decisions that she's been making. But you know, she's kind of caught in this, like, do I fall into love or do I do what I need to do to get my family out of poverty and be the first one to kind of make something of myself out of this family? And then Eleanor, she is a young lady who's going to college in Washington, D.C. She's going to Howard University. And her family has really done the best they can to kind of scrape and scrabble to get her into college. She doesn't come from money, but now she's going to a school that's kind of filled with the Black elite at the time. And she ends up falling in love with one of the men there who comes from a family of these elite Black people in Washington, D.C. at the time. And the story just chronicles like her trials and tribulations of dealing with the family when you don't come from money and them looking at you a certain way, and trying to overcome that and kind of make a name for herself in that family. So the Ruby and Eleanor, their paths cross in an unlikely turn of events, and yeah, the story just unfolds from there. And I just really loved it. Was well told from both perspectives of the characters. Like, it kept you enthralled. You really wanted to know like what was gonna happen and how do these two stories connect. And I think the author did a really good job of kind of like leaving you on the edge of your seat as far as like, okay, like she's telling the story of Ruby, she's telling the story of Eleanor. How does this come together? And it really doesn't come together until the very, very end. And you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I really enjoyed it. I think the story, it took place in like the 1950s, and I think, you know, it was cool to see like a story of like the HBCU from back in the day, how it was back then, and then also the story of Ruby and how, you know, she kind of had to overcome a lot of things that young women have to overcome when they come from a family that's, you know, been struggling for generations, and finally to be the one to kind of make it out of something. It's just always a good uplifting story. So I enjoyed it.
All right. So for me, I can't remember if I mentioned this on like this type of list, but I know I've definitely mentioned it and celebrated this book. The show has gotten all this buzz and acclaim. Like my friends are texting me like, you need to watch it. I was like, I read the book.
That's what
and so but I didn't say it like that. I was like, oh yeah, I know it's good because I read the book. Right. But I'm gonna check out the show, and that's Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson.
They said the show was really, really good.
Yeah, my mama was watching it over here. And okay, does anyone have this where like if your parents are into something, you're immediately put off?
That's how it was with Bridgerton. My mom was like, "We need." I'm like, "Girl, I'm not watching that." And then I watched it with her, and I was like, "Okay."
So considering I've read the book, I was like, "Okay, Mama, you got it." Yes, I would likely still watch it, but when I saw her watching, I was like, "God dang it, my mama just what happened? A bad taste in my mouth with checking something out."
Because we feel like our parents don't have good taste.
Right.
Stuff,
But so the book, if you haven't seen the book or the show and are interested in checking it out, it's about, I can't remember names, but two siblings. They're kind of drifted apart over the years, but due to the passing of their mother, they have to come together for the reading of her will. And so they start to interact, and their lawyer kind of says, hey, it's not just a will. Your mother left you, a message. And it turns out she left a video for them to review and, tells the story of her life. And so through that, they discover who their mother actually was. And it just kind of opens up, all these things and these questions for them about, what they thought was, their parents' lives, and really, what their parents had to go through, just to live and thrive and really be a family. And so it kind of ideally brings them as a family back together. But they discover multiple things about their family through that process. And it's just a nice story. It's set in a undisclosed island. I think people have speculated where, but you get the tradition, even though it's not said particularly where. You get like the culture, you get tradition, you get the central theme and what the black cake means to the family. And I think, did the book had a black cake recipe, or I made that up? I just want all books, if they talk about food,
made that up,
to have a recipe. Right. But yeah, it's just a really great story, and really, kind of puts into perspectives our parents, our people. While I'm talking about my mama, our parents are people, and they led full lives before they even thought about conceiving us, and ultimately those lives are packed with a lot of trauma that hopefully, ideally, they don't pass down, but we know how generational things work. But yeah, it was just a really good story, really interesting, and I think it just kept you wanting to know more and more and more about her, the mother in particular, but just how that kind of translates to their family dynamic and what they will do now that she's left them with this information. So really, really good story.
Okay. Next that I would recommend is a book that I just recently talked about in our wrap up TBR. Go check that out if you haven't already. But and that's State Street, The Last Summer on State Street by Toya Wolf.
I'm gonna go ahead and buy that.
Toya Wolf. So it follows Fifi and her group of friends and their girlhood and coming of age in the Robert Taylor homes of Chicago, in the mean streets of Chicago back in the late 90s, right before they tore the public housing buildings down. And it just kind of chronicles their well, I keep saying chronicle. It just follows it just follows their kind of like coming of age and how they're dealing with the trauma of losing their home to gentrification. The Robert Taylor homes were knocked down. I think they were fully knocked down in 2007. I had to do a little research because the story was just really interesting, and I knew like the name of the public housing. I was like, oh, this is actually like a real thing. So they were completely knocked down in 2007, but in the summer of 1999 was when Fifi and her friends
roaming the street.
Yeah, they were out and about and just seeing like the effects of living in public housing, period, and then the effects of being pushed out of your homes, how it affected their family, their friends, and all the people around them, and how that whole summer just had a huge impact on their lives and on their friendships. So I think it's just like a really good important story to tell, because I think that if you've never been to a public housing or like experience like living in one, it's a what is it? It's a canon event. Is that what they call it? Like it's definitely like an experience,
like an eye opener.
Yeah, and definitely an eye opener to someone who's never experienced that. So I thought it was a good story, and I just enjoyed it. It was a short book, and it just got straight to the point from when Fifi was a child up until her adulthood, and kind of how like that whole summer just affected her whole life thereafter. So it was great.
Okay. It was on a Kindle deal. I don't know if it still is, but I'm gonna look. I might get that. Okay. So next, for me is, I thought you would have this, Take My Hand by Jolene Perkins
I almost put it on there,
Valdez.
but I didn't.
Well, first of all, you should have. But if you have not read that book, it is kind of, speaking of important story, it is a very important story that is palatable and digestible, but still discusses some heavy themes. So it focuses on Sybil. Ooh, I remember her name because it was like Civil Rights. But Sybil is a nurse in the 1950s, 60s, something like that, around that time frame. And so she is working in like public health, and they are servicing these underserved communities, and she's administering birth control to them. And so when they have to go out to these families' houses, and pretty much she's discovering that she's administering birth control to young girls who really haven't even engaged in, sex or anything like that. So that doesn't sit right with Sybil. And then she starts to do some research on her clinic. This is happening around the same time as the Tuskegee experiments and everything like that, or shortly after the Tuskegee experiment. And so Sybil becomes embedded in these two young girls' lives, and really things start to happen to them through this public health system that really are impactful to their future. And Sybil really wants to help them fight the good fight on what has happened to them, and fight this system that is in place, because it's a form of genocide, essentially. So again, a really important story, but really told in an interesting way. It mentions my alma mater, Tuskegee. Thank you. Because I think Sybil went there, or she was about, or she visited there because of the Tuskegee experiments. But
oh yeah, to talk to that one person.
Yeah, but I think she went to Tuskegee, didn't she?
Maybe. I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Tuskegee is in the story, so we in the building. But like I said, it's a young adult book, so it's not overly heavy, but it is heavy for a young adult book. But it's definitely an interesting story, and Sybil is telling it from her perspective to her now, like she's older, and goes back and tells this story. I guess it's a letter or something to her daughter. Just kind of telling her the, turn of events and everything like that. So really great story, really, like you said, really important, and just, a highly recommended book by a Black author that talked about Tuskegee. All right, so didn't want to overload you, so we're going to get into some books that...
I keep closing my thing like I ain't got more to talk about.
We're going to get into some books that we want to read, or maybe have been recommended to us. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, so one that I want to read, so it's called One of the Good Ones by, it's a dual author. So Micah Mulit and Maritza Mulit. Oh, are they sisters?
That's cute.
Right, that is really cute. So I just saw this going around, but the synopsis says the hate you give meets Get Out. So
I have not talked about The Hate You Give. Remember, I kept talking about The Hate You Give, and then we read her other books, and we kept talking about her other books. Where's she at? Angie, where you at?
That's crazy. But yeah, she needs to come out with a new one. I feel like she's due. But yeah, so this story follows what's the character's name? Kezzie Smith. She is an activist, a young Black activist, teen social activist, who's killed under some mysterious circumstances. And it follows the people in her life, her family and friends, trying to figure out what is going on, what happened. It looks like it's about the fight against police brutality. So sounds like it could be a little heavy, but I'm down for that. Like I can stomach that. So I definitely want to get into that.
She is knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And can stomach, the things that are happening and rooted in our society.
It's real life every day. So people are going through these things. So who are we to look away just because we can?
Yep. Okay, so mine is not heavy. Because look at
My
us.
next one is not
but like,
easy.
look at us, because I'm like, oh, Black authors. You remember I said I was gonna probably put it in the video if I could find it, or know how to do it. I was like, oh, I don't really read that many Black books and none of the. But now I'm a Black author reader.
You have to.
But still, the heavy content still weighs on me. So even the ones that I mentioned, they are heavy. But if I can do it, you can do it, because I don't like too heavy of a book. Yeah. Even though I do have some categorized trauma porn on my TBR. Yeah. Like, yeah, they said, like, I want to read A Little Life, and people keep talking about how that's trauma porn.
Yeah, my nephew read that, but my nephew be giving me all the sad books.
Why your nephew? How old is your nephew?
He's like, this is the older one. He's 20.
Girl, she shouldn't be reading that.
That's what I feel like.
So let's do a light book. I would like to read, and I have it saved. I just haven't read it. It's the Legendborn series.
I want to read that too. I always see people talking about Legendborn.
Yeah. But yeah, I've had that on my TBR for a while. And for some reason, I don't know. I have these blocks and barriers up in my head for some reason. In regards, so Tracy Dion. Okay. By Tracy Dion. Because my Kindle's faster, even though that's a travesty. Kindles are slow. So you should have been able to pull.
I don't know.
Maybe you didn't spell it right.
Legend. I know and Born.
But yeah, I don't know why I haven't listened to it. I don't know if it's this mental block of, like I said before, with fantasy. I don't know. So I'm overcoming that. I always have a block to overcome when it comes to certain books. I don't know. Had to overcome romance, had to overcome historical fiction. And even though I read a lot of fantasy, I still have some things with that. So I don't know why I haven't listened to it or read it at this point, but I definitely want to read it. So that is on my list, and I hopefully can tackle it this year.
Okay. So next on my list is light, fluffy, hopefully. And that's the Tia Williams' new book.
Okay.
A love song for Ricky Wilde. I want to say Ricky Bobby so bad. I don't know why. But
Ricky Bobby, because you're thinking about
the Will Ferrell movie. But yeah, so y'all know we love Tia Williams, 7 Days in June. And this is her new one. It's a romance. That's all I really know. I read the synopsis, but I can't really think of what it's about. But I've already been seeing people saying, like, in reviews, Tia Williams done it again. Like, she did it. Like, so I'm like, oh, it's going to be so good. And I cannot wait. I'm thinking about purchasing it because I don't got time to be waiting on Libby and Scribe and all this other stuff. So I don't know. I might have to go ahead and bite the bullet. But yes, that's on my list. And, you know, Tia Williams, I'm not going to say she doesn't disappoint, because Kristen was disappointed about that one book. But I'm excited, and this is definitely I anticipated reading the whole romance community, especially Black romance, because we need that.
Okay. So speaking of Black love, and
not my girl Bolu.
Yes, I've had this book on my Kindle for a while.
Really?
And yes, that's why you need a Kindle. They be having the deals. And they be books like, oh, I want to read that. Yes. So that's Love and Color. That's been out for a while, but it is like
Babu
Babalola. So she I want to say this was, of course, one of her earlier books. I want to say it came out before Honey and Spice. I don't see when it came out, but I'm almost certain it did. But pretty much I want to say it's a collection of love stories, mythical tales from around the world retold. In her debut collection, debut. Okay. So yeah, I'm assuming it's her debut because it says it there. But yeah, it's a collection of stories that I guess she adapted and whatnot. And so yeah, I had seen this circulating when I bought it, so that's why I went ahead and got it, but never read it. And then I read Honey and Spice, and I was like, oh, okay, I like her. So it's definitely one I, again, have started to see circulate again. I don't know if it's because it's, Valentine's time or what, but definitely want to tackle that. And I might might do it this month. I don't know. I got space on my TBR, and I don't think I have space anymore because I keep saying I might do that. I might do that. But I definitely would love to try to read that this year. Because my goal,
put that on my list. I love her.
My goal is to read books I own, and
period. That's
so many are on this thing.
Yeah.
I need to get the cute one where you put the stickers on the back and hold it with the pop socket and like, but no, this works just fine. I can prop it up if I want to.
Right.
Amazon. All right. But yeah, again, let us know. I had Nick Stone books. Have you read any Nick Stone books? Okay. No. Let us know any books that you would recommend or some books that you want to check out by Black authors.
If you're anticipating any books by Black authors that we didn't mention a lot, that we haven't mentioned or that like we would love, please comment, because I need some more recommendations. I feel like we go off of what we see on social media sometimes and just like different lists and things, but you guys give us good recommendations sometimes. So
yes, I have a running list of recommendations. I just again, it's like pretty and new, and I get distracted and I just but I'm going to do better about that because yes, you all provide some great recommendations. So continue to provide them. They are on our TBRs. But yeah, let us know the books because we like the books. Like this video, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll be back next time. Bye.